user or designers always keep in that mind, like it should not distract any kind of a vision. Okay, if you are designing a car, it should not distract your vision. If you are seeing the outside area from the front glass or the side glass, it could not distract, as well as also a safety concern factor. If it will impact from the front side, from the side glass or the back side, so it work as a crumple zone. Okay, so also like a body is something that hold the passengers or luggage compartment, as well as provide the safety for the passengers. Okay, that's the main part of a body, and also it improves the aesthetic or a looks of a vehicle. Okay, if you are purchasing any kind of a car, so it should also like create some kind of a jealousy to your neighbor. So such a way like designers produce a car, so it means a proudful thing to you to own a car. Okay, so it is a fact like a 65% of the world population drive on the right side of the road. In our country, in India, we generally drive, means we drive in the left side, but in the European country or in American countries, people drive in the right side. So it is a like a fact that 65% world population drive in the right side. Okay, so this is the main part of automobile, or we can well say like a heart of automobile, IC engine, internal combustion engine. Uh, Generally, we use a four-stroke IC engine. In history, like in a two-wheelers or scooters, we preferred two-stroke engines, but right now we are using four-stroke engine. Okay, means I cannot elaborate each and everything in the IC engine, because IC engine is complete a subject you can do in your masters and PhD. But some of the brief layout, I'll describe all the things in the IC engine. Okay, there are some main parts here described in the IC engine, like it is a camshaft upper part who operate your valve system, inlet or outlet valve. You operate with the camshaft. Okay, and camshafts you operate with the chain. Okay, that also called the timing chain, valve timing chain. Okay, these are the valves showing here, like inlet valve or outlet valve, and pistons are showing here, connecting rods and crankshaft. All are the other stuffs also showing here. Okay, just wait a minute. Okay, so will anyone tell me like uh, what is stroke? What is a stroke? And why we called four-stroke engine? Will anyone tell me in the comment section? If I'm saying this is a four-stroke engine, so what is reason behind it?
So because the piston completed this TDC to BDC in 4 times. So we call
Yeah,
four-stroke engine.
exactly. Thank you, Shivam. Like stroke is a length.
So it is the inlet and outlet of gas.
Sorry.
Uh, Four stroke means it is the inlet and outlet of gas. When a gas enters, the piston moves up. Then fuel injector for diesel it is different, and for fuel type it is different. When
Yes.
fuel burns, the piston goes down, and then later it gets exhausted from the engine. That's how.
Yes, yes, exactly. You are right, San. Like stroke is a length from the TDC to BDC. I'm just explaining what is TDC and BDC. TDC is a top dead center, okay, and BDC is a bottom dead center. Okay, in that length, like a piston is moving up and down scenario. Okay, so TDC is the top and BDC is the bottom length center. Okay, and in a single complete power stroke, it this piston move in the four times. Okay, there is a four process. First process is a suction. Okay, when our fuel with the mixture of air enters in this compartment, okay, cylinder compartment, and the next process is a compression process when the piston is goes upward and that fuels compress completely in that section, and after that comes power stroke. If we are using petrol engine, So power stroke comes from like a spark plug, and if you are using a diesel engine, power stroke comes from the different things. Okay, it's get heat up and fuel injector spray the fuel in that session in the diesel engine. Okay, so third process is the power stroke, and then it start to the expand. Okay, suction, power, expand, and exhaust. These are the four process in behind this engine. Okay, generally, like these are the all automobile engines we are showing here. Uh, Generally, you have seen in the Swift or a small kind of cars in the inline engines. Three cylinder engine, inline engine, four cylinder inline engine. Okay, these are the most common engine in like a under the 1,000 or 1,200 cc cars. Okay, and if you are going the sports category or a supercar categories, you have seen the V8 engine, V10 engine, V12 engine, even also V16 engine. Okay, we generally prefer V kind of engine, V types of engine in the supercars or the sports cars, or even in like a uh, where we need like a higher power. The commercial purpose also we use V kind of engine. Okay, these are straight kind of engine. This is a boxer kind of engine, like a both side parallelly arrangement of pistons and all the valve arrangement systems. Okay, in generally in if I'm talking about automobile, we generally prefers reciprocate kind of engine in an inline engine or a V kind of engine. Boxer engine we generally do not prefer in our automobile car, and this is a like a different kind of engine is a rotary engine. Okay, so it is a fact like in case of impact, if your vehicle is impacting from any object, so airbags just inflate in just 30 millisecond. Okay, you can assume that how little time it needs to inflate your airbags. So it's just a fact. Okay, so I'm just presenting two pictures. First, focus on the second picture. Okay, here like a four process is describing. In the first process, just see here like that green, blue things is shows the fuel. Okay, fuel is coming inside that cylinder. Okay, in the next session, power stroke is produced that power that ignition, and after it compress and this is exhaust. Okay, all the four processes you are seeing here. At the same time, that camshaft is rotating with the help of that chain. Okay, and it is directly connected with the crankshaft. It is some crank or weight are put it here who can manage and arrange all the engine. Okay, here is the flywheel. Okay, so that means jerk will not produce in the engine. It help to run the engine is smoothly. Okay, so in that picture you can understand like how IC engine is work inside your complete engine body panels. Okay, here is a second picture you are seeing here, like a valve you are clearly seeing here, inlet valve or outlet valve. A green yellow part is representing a inlet valve because it's a cooler side, and red part is showing the exhaust part. Okay, because like exhaust gases or burnt gases is removing from that part. Okay, and inside that four processes happening: suction, compression, power, and exhaust. Okay, so these processes happening inside it, and here it is a radiator, or we can say that it is a cooling system. In this picture you can understand that how cooling system works. You have seen a lots of time like a radiators fixed in the front side of your engine. Okay, but how it's work, how it means cooling our engine. So in this picture you can easily understand it. We just to fill our all the cooling stuff from in this part in the radiator. Okay, is a thermostat valve. It is a thermostat valve. So how it is working? Like a cooler part or a cooler fluid is come from the bottom side and it is going such a way these panels. It is a black side. You have seen that these channels. Okay, your like a cooler fluid is there, and after that it is going from this part to upper side. Okay, and inside this radiator there is a small fins there, and here is a like a fan available to cool your fluid. Okay, so that your hot fluid is coming from upper side and is going downside, and it's cooling the engine. Okay, it's like how cooling system is working. And this bottom part is known as a sink. uh, Most of the times, like you have seen that lots of the time you have seen that you put engine oils. Okay, this engine oils directly comes in the sink part. Okay, and it is connected with the various channels. Okay, so it is like lubricating all your parts so that it can run without any friction. Okay, I hope all clear this. Okay, so next come, as I have told you, like engine is a very broad area. You cannot cover each and everything. Even I can speak about engine in a one and like a whole day, but engine will not finish. We will. So we have lots of steps, but we will covering a brief layout of the automobiles. Okay. So I'm just proceeding the next department. It is a vehicle transmission. Uh, Vehicle transmission. Okay, you have produced the power, but you have to transfer this power to your running or mobile systems. Your mobile system is.
Rahul, Rahul, 1 second. I think transmission will take by Rahul Jangir. You just
I'm
brief
just
on the brake and suspension. Okay, okay,
Okay, I'm just briefing about it. Okay, transmission
okay,
is
okay.
something that is transferring your engine power to your wheel. Okay, it is a part of a transmission. There is a two kind of like a various kind of a transmission, but broadly we known as a front wheel drive or rear wheel drive. Also the four wheel drive available in the market. Okay, and also a various time. It's a two a very popular part, front wheel drive and the rear wheel drive. So here in this figure you can see that in the front wheel drive, that transmission part, okay, transmission box is directly attached with the engine. Okay, and here it is connected with the differential and the CV joints, and in transferring power of engine power to the front wheels. Okay, in the front side there is a various parts available in the transmission part. Rahul Jangir sir will details explain about that. Okay, and in the rear wheel drive it is connected such a way, there is particular shaft connected with it. Okay, and it is going with the rear wheels. Okay, so differential part comes in the rear side. Okay, and it is going power in the rear side. So means I'm coming on the steering systems. Okay, so just to see this video, just a minute. Steering. First of all, why we are using steering? It need to understand. Steering is a guide to vehicle from like a different direction. Means it is not possible to go in a single direction every time. Okay, you need to take a turn from right side to left side. Okay, and you have to turn the vehicle. So in that case, the steering is an essential part to guide your vehicle. Okay, so like a lots of steering in the market, but we generally use rack and pinion kind of a steering. So in this video, it is explaining about a rack and pinion steering. So I'm just explaining this steering. Okay, so it's a rack and pinion. It's a rack and pinion arrangement. In this video, you can see that. Just a minute. Okay, in this video, you have seen that rack and pinion steering arrangement. In the middle part, it is a rack. Okay, and here it connected with a gear that known as a pinion gear. Okay, and it is connected with the shaft, and here is some universal joint. What is the function of the universal joint? universal joint can transfer your power at an angle. Okay, so you cannot effort means you cannot put a very high amount of effort. It can convert your power at different kind of angles. Okay, so we are putting here the universal joint, and it is connected with a single gear that is known as a pinion gear. And inside this tube there is a rack who can travel from right side to left side, or left side to right side. Okay, and it is connect from the different part. I'll explain each and every part. Just to see here how is rack and pinion work. Okay, if you are rotating clockwise or anti-clockwise, according to that your wheel is steering in right side or a left side. Okay, here I have told you about, like, it is a pinion gear who attaching in the bottom side of your shaft, and it is a rack. So when you are moving your steering, it is rotating and it is shifting the rack in the particular direction. Okay, according to that it's moving. And right now we are working in a power, we are working power steering, working on power steering. Like most of the cars available in the market available with the power steering systems. So how power steering work properly? So in this video you will see here, I will also explain a detailed thing in the power steering in the next slide, upcoming slides. Okay, so it is connected with the two fluid lines here, and it is particular a rotary valve here. Okay, I will explain. You just see here, it's a tie rod and connected with the hinge joint. Okay, so I hope you'll get a brief idea about how rack and pinion work. I will discuss describe all the things in details also. In steering part, most of the people have seen about this part. This part is connected from your wheels. Okay, this is called a knuckle or upright. Okay, this is the same part. The same part is here. This part and this part is the same. Okay, so this part is also known as a upright, and here it is how it is looks like in the real market. Okay, so in that upright part there is a lots of points available to connect a different kind of a departments. Like this particular point is connected for the steering. Okay, so your whole vehicles will turn from a different angles, particular this axis. Okay, this is a steering axis, or you can say that the like steer about particular this angle. Okay, so it is a like axis of rotation of wheel. Here one bearing is connected with your wheel. Okay, this point is connected with your suspension part. This knuckle is come under the MacPherson strut assembly. So in the suspension there is a kind of a suspension is MacPherson strut. So MacPherson strut point you can connect it your suspension strut in that point. Okay, these points are for the brake caliper, your brake system, your braking system, your caliper can connect on this system. Okay, so you can understand that how it is, how this part is important. Who are connecting with the three departments: suspension department, steering department, as well as a brake department. Okay, so let's move in the next slide. So here, like I'm describing you how power steering actually work. In that video also you have seen that power steering video. I'm just trying to explaining in detail how power steering actually work. Just suppose that if you are taking a clockwise direction turn. Okay, just suppose this you take the turn, your steering in the clockwise direction. In that case what will happen, you will take a right turn. Okay, in that right turn, if you are taking a right turn, so what will happen, it push your rack arm in left side. Okay, it push your rack arm in the left side. So what will happen in this particular compartment? This compartment is full of a fluid. Okay, so how this fluid is working and how it is like reducing the efforts for the driver. So here I am explaining just two kind of lines like you have seen in the video. These two lines is attaching in the two different compartment, one compartment and the secondary compartment. Okay, just as I told you, like when you are taking the turn in the right side, this rack will travel in the left side. And if rack is travel the left side, so what you need actually, you understand that. So you need to move this plate from left side or to left side. Okay, you need to push this plate in the left side. So how your fluid will be helpful and how it's reducing your effort. Just listen carefully. Okay, when you are taking the right side turn, in that time like this fluid this fluid is need to get pressurized, means in this compartment it need to pressurize, and in this compartment pressure need to reduce. Am I right? Okay, so what will happen, like when you just push that, this fluid will go in this line. Okay, and here is a rotary valve, and this fluid will come in this part. Rotary valve is connecting to the SX kind of a valve. This fluid will come in the bottom side in this part, and it will come in the pump. Okay, pump will pump your fluid to the reservoir, and in this reservoir like a fluid pressure will be high. Okay, so this high amount of a pressure will come in this line, and it will come directly come to this line, and this pressurized fluid come in this compartment. So this compartment will improve the pressure, and this compartment will reduce the pressure. So how it is helpful to your the steering. You can, I hope you understand it. So here like a fluid will start to pressurize this plate, and here because of this pump it will start to squeeze fluid from this compartment. Okay, so how does power steering? uh, Anmol, please mute your mic. Okay, I hope you got the information how power steering work. Please comment me if you understand this concept. Shall we move?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So this is generally assembly of the steering system. I explained about how rack and pinion or this power steering is work. So it is a different part in the steering system. The most important part is the rack and pinion, or you can say that the gearbox of steering. Okay. So it's a rack and pinion assembly, and in the end of the rack and pinion, we generally connect with the joints. That joint is called a hinge joint. Okay. If you can find the hinge joint on the Google, hinge joint is something, a ball inside the joint that can move in particular directions. Okay, so we connect from hinge joint in the end of the our rack and pinion assembly, and that hinge joint we connected with the tie rod, and we connected with the knuckle arms. Okay, knuckle arm I have already shown you. Okay, so this is our hub assembly. Just understand it, try to understand it. Okay, it is a part of a hub assembly. In the hub assembly, we directly fixed our disk, or we can say that like a brake disk. Like this disk will operate, and a caliper will fix on this particular section. This is a movable part. Hub is a movable part. Okay, when your vehicle is running, your wheel is directly attaching with this movable part, this hub assembly. Okay, so this is a movable part. Inside it there is a particular bearing. Okay, with this bearing it is connected. It is a knuckle part. Knuckle part is a stationary part. Okay, and it is a knuckle arm. Particularly we attach our tie rod to the knuckle arm. Okay, so and it is directly connected to this. Okay, if you are generally take the turn, this is pushing this uh, this arm. Okay, here will be our steering shaft. So it will push in this shaft, and it will push this knuckle arm, and your vehicle will take the turn and in whatever direction you want. Okay, so there are some terminology behind the steering system. Okay, if you are designing your steering system and if you are correcting your steering system, you need to understand these terminology. I'm explaining each and every terminology. Okay, and if you're having any kind of a doubt, you can just put in your chat box. Okay, I'll try to solve all your doubts regarding the departments. Okay, guys. So these are the three most important terminology we used in the steering system. These same we will use in the suspension part also. First, we'll discuss about the camber. Okay, so what is camber? Okay, if you are seeing your vehicle from the front side, okay, the where your position, it's a most important thing if you are just like focusing each and every area. Okay, and if you are just checking the camber, so how you can check the camber of your vehicle of your car? Just to see your vehicle from the front side. Okay, if such a way like a if your wheels is looking like such a way, okay, top side is coming downward and bottom side is coming means opposite side. Okay, in that case is a negative camber. Okay, and the vice versa is opposite for the positive camber. Okay, we generally prefer in the different aspects. If just suppose that if I'm using a commercial vehicle, okay, if I'm using a loading vehicle or commercial vehicle, I generally prefer positive camber. Why I prefer positive camber? In that case, in the unloading time, my vehicles will look like such a way. Not means it will be a means a very little amount of a positive camber. Means you cannot able to detect very clearly. If just suppose that if I take the 5-degree camber or a 10-degree camber, you are not able to detect with the single eye like it is a camber or not. Okay, so I just prefer the some positive camber in the commercial vehicles. So while the loading of the vehicle, so it will straight. Okay, while I will load the vehicle, so automatically a force will come, means some amount of a weight will come in this vehicle. So automatically this bottom means the upper side of a part will come inside. So automatically my camber will be 0. Okay, in the negative, where we take the negative camber, generally we prefer the negative camber in the racing vehicles. Okay, in the racing vehicles, when we take the turn in the very higher amount of speed, in that time, like it helps us very much. Okay, so for the loading vehicles, we generally prefer positive. In the racing purpose vehicles, we generally prefer negative camber. Okay, in the commercial vehicles, we also prefer a little amount of a positive camber or a 0 camber. Okay, let's come on the next caster. So what is a caster angle? Okay, just suppose that it is a bit confusing for the students. Okay, just keep your eyes closely. In the caster, when you are seeing your vehicle from the side, okay, so this line, this is a like a vertical line. If your knuckle assembly or upright assembly, okay, if your this line is known as a kingpin inclination also. Okay, if your knuckle assembly or a upright assembly connecting line, okay, or we will known that like upper point of your suspension points and the lower point, this line, if taking the positive angle, if making a positive angle, this is known as a positive or caster. It is also a safe caster. We generally prefer the positive caster for the safe condition. And it is a, if your like angle is a negative, okay, in commercial vehicle you will not see a such high amount of a angle. It is just for the explaining purpose. Okay, in angle will about a 5 degree or 10 degree, or most of the time like a 0 degree. Okay, so here for the explaining purpose, here angle is a very broad. Okay, so if your angle is making a positive, so it is a positive caster. If your angle is making negative, it is a negative caster. Okay, this is line, we also know the kingpin inclination line, or you can say that a line joining to the upright assembly and from the vertical line. Okay, so this is a caster angle. And let's come in the third point, toe. Toe toe in or toe out. Okay, so what is the point to see the toe point? The toe we generally sees from the top side, toe top. Okay, so if you are seeing your vehicle from the top side, okay, so just suppose that in the front part is going in the inside, and back part is going the outside, it known as a toe in. Okay. If you are seeing my video, just suppose that if you are seeing from the top side, your vehicle is going this away. Okay. So means front part is going the inside and back part is going the outside. So this is called the toe in, and vice versa is a negative for the toe out. If front part is going the outside and the rear part is of a wheels is going the inside, that is called as a toe out. So I hope so all the three uh, terminology have clear to you: camber, caster, and toe in. If you're having any kind, you can just ask me right now so that we can proceed, or we have to stay this section.
Sir, can you say the use of toe in and toe out?
I need to explain again.
The uses alone, sir. Uses where the toe in is used or where the toe out is used.
Okay. Generally, actually, toe in or toe out, we sorry. Okay, we do not prefer toe in or toe out condition. Okay, generally we try to fix a 0 degree of toe in or toe out. But what is happening? Like when you are running your car, when you are running your vehicle, after some time, like after a couple of thousand of kilometers, it get some disruption in your vehicle assembly. Okay, it might be in a toe in condition or toe out condition. So in that case, like you need to like correct all the things. You need to just proper 0 degree. Okay, so it is a means the checking purpose, like your vehicle is in toe in or a toe out, so that you can correct these things. Okay, and if you want to just check in your vehicle if there is a toe in or toe out, you have to check from the top side. Okay, there are like a lots of machinery available in the market, like you know not to see from your single eyes. Okay, like where when you will go in the wheel alignment shop, uh, that person will detect all the things like what are the casters in your vehicle, camber or toe in toe out, and what are the weight distribution of your wheels. Okay, it will check all the things with the help of machinery, and it will, if anything is need to correct, it will correct. Okay, the guys will correct. So but for your project purpose you need to understand, like in your vehicle there is a camber or a caster or a toe in toe out is there or not. Okay, camber or a caster in our hand. Okay, like we like you can set a camber, positive camber or a negative camber from your side, but in the toe in toe out we generally do not prefer. We generally take the 0 degree. Okay, let's
I
coming
think
to
Rahul, I think Rahul, we should contact Rahul Jangir. If it's available, then he can deliver his speech because he's also having a tight schedule with his Royal company. So we will continue our session. If Rahul Jangir, you are available, am I audible, Rahul?
Yes, yes, you are audible and I'm available now.
Okay. So Rahul, can you stop
okay,
the screen to
just okay, Pragar. I'm just completing this steering department, and okay, I'm just hand over to Rahul Jagir. Okay, so like this is a Ackermann geometry. In previous, like when if I'm talking about a steering department, when you take the turn, like both of the wheels take uh, turn with the single means similar amount of angle. So in that part, what is happening? Like a outer side of a part or outer side of a vehicle needs to turn, uh, needs to cover a high amount of a distance, and inside of a vehicles need to cover a less amount of a distance. Okay, so in that case, like a slippage occur or a skid occur in the vehicles. Okay, so you cannot take the effortlessly turn in the vehicle. So for solve this problem, Rudolf Ackermann, the inventor from England, who invented this geometry. This is known as a Ackermann geometry. Okay, in that geometry, like means outer wheels will take a different angle, take turn with a different angle, and inside wheels take a different angle. Okay, so in this figure, you can also see that like a outer side of a vehicle, if you are taking a turn in the left side. Okay, if you are taking the turn in the anti-clockwise direction or the left side. In that case, the inside wheels make a higher amount of angle compared to the outside wheels. Okay, so in that case, like there will be the no slippage will occur because the uh, coverage path for the inner wheel or the outer wheel is a different. Okay, so it helps to also come back in the center position after the taking the turn. Okay, because of the instability. So it helps to take the turn to avoid the slippage. Also, after the getting the turn, you can just like means uh, after the taking the turn, you can just stop the steering, so it will automatically come in the original position. Okay, so these are the some positioning of the rack. Okay, so these are the downside rack positioning. Okay, we generally prefer these kind of rack positioning, but in the some special purpose like the Formula vehicles, you have seen that in the Supra or the FSA vehicles, some of the teams also use such kind of. We have already completed our steering department. Like some of the doubts I was found in comment section, like what are the advantage of caster, camber, and two into out. I have already explained about the camber angle. Caster angle, I'm just uh, explaining about it. You have seen the caster angle, positive caster angle in two wheelers. In motorcycle or bicycles, you will find the positive caster angle at a very broad level. Okay, but negative caster angle you will not find it. Okay, so generally we prefer the positive caster angle. It improve our stability of the vehicle because like it is helping to our center of gravity comes in the center. It means uh, beneath of the driver point. So it's help to the stability of the vehicle for the positive caster angle. And as far as two in or two out is concerned, it helps to like uh, remove the wear out of the tire. Okay, if just suppose that there is two in of a tire, and if you are running a vehicle at a very long way, so in that time, what will happen? Like your side of tire will be. Okay, so for reducing such risk, we fix all the things like two in, two out, and in the two wheelers, we believe for the positive caster angle, and in the four wheeler, we prefer slightly positive caster angle or zero caster angle. Okay, so let's come on the third section, suspension system. Suspension system is a vehicle that deals vibration, internal, external movement, and affecting smooth ride of a vehicle. Again, it comprise the spring dampers. These are the all the parts inside the suspension department, and a group of these parts, spring dampers, and the other linkages make a proper suspension system. Uh, Actually, we divide suspension system in the various parts. Okay, here we shown the MacPherson strut assembly. It is a part of a suspension system. We generally prefer in cars. So here you can see that this part is called like a MacPherson strut assembly. We use a various type of a suspension system in a various uses for the various cars. Okay, so it's a MacPherson strut. In this assembly, like a huge strut is there, and there is a spring. It is a like a assembly of dampers and springs and this rod. Okay, and it is directly connected with your knuckle arm. Okay, that knuckle arm I have already explained in the steering department. So the top of the point that I have explained, that 2 point that directly connected with this MacPherson strut, and this point will directly connected with the caliper, and here that caliper will stop your disc, and here it will connect with the tie rod, so it will help to operate your steering department. Okay, this front part is a sway bar, and also be known as a anti-roll bar. Participant asked about like what is anti-roll bar. So it comes in the suspension department. Okay, so in the further slide we will see and we will discuss brief about that. Okay, what is work of the anti-roll bar and how it is working. Okay, what is the reason for that? Can you please unmute your camera, Sweta? Mute your camera. Okay, so these are the like a main function of suspension department. First, like a proper comfortability. It allows to comfortability for the passenger and drivers. Second is a control. It provides a proper controllability of vehicle properly. If I'm talking about it, helps to any kind of a hindrance for viewing motion or pitch motion. Okay, so this kind of a motion generally we avoid to install a good amount of a suspension, good kind of a suspension. Okay, and third thing is contact. It allow to proper contact with the road. Okay, if your two wheels or some wheels is not properly contacting with the road, so your vehicle will not control, and that time like your vehicle can start to skid from some tires, or that might be possible it can be roll over from one side. Okay, so we avoid such conditions. We make such a good amount of a suspension so that it help all the three sectors. In this first figure, you can see here how it helps to improve our comfortability. Here, like just suppose that like my vehicle is going on with the same kind of a surface, and suddenly like some ditch is there. Okay, some ditch is there. So in that time, like my vehicle will go in that ditch, and if that time like suspension works is create a force in the opposite direction, so that the driver position or the vehicle position will not so much disturb. Okay, as per the reference on the center line. Okay, and again when we will come back in this set. Okay, so it allows to like driver compatibility. And the second things control, it controls the yaw motion. This particular motion, it controls the yaw motion. Okay, so it will not go such a way, means not right side, not left side. Okay, it will allow to proper a single side of stability. Third is contact, I have already explained. Okay, these are the some parameters behind the suspension, and apart from that also like some of the parameters, but these are the main parameters. While we designing our dampers, so we need to focus on the motion ratio and the spring rate. Okay, what is a motion ratio? Just see in this figure. If I'm just using a such kind of a dampers or such kind of a suspension, okay, so like where my damper is connecting with rod, this point, and where my like knuckle arm assembly or like kingpin inclination point, okay, or steering axis. So these axis to the these axis, the ratio of these particular two parameters is known as the motion ratio. Okay, here you can see the definition. It is the ratio of distance of wheel to the distance of shock absorber from the pivot point. Okay, so it is called a motion ratio. And spring rate, the amount of a unit deflection, how much force you required, that is known as a spring rate. While you will calculating all the calculation of suspension department, and while you are plotting the geometry in the Lotus and some other softwares, you need to put the values of motion ratio, spring rate, all these terms. Okay. So these are lots of a type of suspension. Generally, we divide the type of suspension into two types: dependent type or independent type. Okay, in the independent type, these are the suspensions like a MacPherson stud, double wishbone, trailing arm, multi-link, push-pull rod suspension. Hello. Okay. So basically, we divide in the two types of a suspension: dependent type and independent type. Okay. So these are the type of a independent type of suspension. So generally, we prefer in our commercial purpose vehicles or our like daily purpose vehicles. Okay. In if you are going any kind of a project, generally like a teams prefer a independent kind of a suspension. Some teams can prefer the dependent type, but I'll recommend to use a independent type of suspension. Okay, because in the event you need to face a different kind of a challenges. Okay, if you are going especially in the ATV kind of a vehicle now, so I'll suggest you definitely go with the independent type of suspension, because in the both side you will face a different kind of a ditch and bumps. In that type, if you have a dependent kind of a suspension, there is a great chance of a failure. Okay, so these are the some suspension. First is the MacPherson strut. This is the MacPherson strut suspension. This is a knuckle assembly. Okay, here in the front two point is connected with the MacPherson strut. Okay, it is how it is look like MacPherson strut. If you having a four-wheeler, you have seen very frequently MacPherson strut in your vehicle, in your car. Okay, so we generally prefer MacPherson strut in our like commercial viable cars. Okay, And second is a double wishbone suspension. This is a double wishbone suspension for events purpose or the racing car purpose. We generally prefer such kind of a suspension. Okay, double wishbone, and it is a properly independent suspension. Uh, we get a properly length so that this wheel can move freely. This vehicle can move freely, whatever like up and downs will be there, this automatically reduce there with the help of this damper. Okay, so this is a like a double wishbone, or well say it is also known as a A-arm suspension. Okay, double A-arm suspension because it is look like A. Okay, here is connected. In this figure, you also connected the definition of motion ratio. So if I'm saying that what is the motion ratio, so motion ratio is length from here to here. Here, like my damper is connected, so length from here to here, and that length will be a like horizontal length. Okay, I can say properly a straight length, not such a way angular length. Okay, so length from here to here and length from here to connected line this upright axis. Okay, the motion ratio will be this above this upon this. Okay, this is my motion ratio in this particular vehicle. This is a double wishbone type of suspension. Third is a trailing arm suspension. This is a trailing arm suspension. We generally prefer trailing arm suspension in ATV vehicles. Okay, if you are designing a ATV vehicle or a Baja vehicle, okay, so in that case, teams are generally prefer trailing arm kind of a suspension, because in that case you got a high amount of like length in this particular arm. Okay, and it is a parallel to your vehicle. It is perpendicular to your vehicle. This double wishbone or any kind of a multi-link, these are the perpendicular to your axis, vehicle axis, but this trailing arm is a parallel to your vehicle axis. Okay, so and one more thing, trailing arm suspension we are not using in front side. Trailing arm suspension we only use in the back side or rear side. Okay, so these are the trailing arm suspension. And fourth is a multi-link suspension. Like it is a quite complicated type of suspension, because you need to fix lots of links with the chassis. Here you can see that it is a multi-link suspension. Here you are connecting a multi-links 1, 2, 3, 4, and here back. Okay, so it is a quite hectic if you are not designing and properly collaborating with vehicles. So it is a high amount of risk to break these arms. Okay, but it distribute all the forces very well manner if you are able to handle this multi-link suspension. Okay, and last is the push-pull rod suspension. Push-pull rod suspension we generally use for the racing purpose vehicle. And if you have seen the F1 cars, if you have seen F1 car racing, so we generally prefer push-pull rod suspension in Formula 1 vehicles. Okay, so
330, 430.
can you please mute your mic, person?
పొద్దున్న నుంచి చూస్తూనే ఉన్నారు కదా, కొంచెం బ్రేక్ తీసుకోండి.
Okay, so this is we generally use in F1 vehicles, Formula 1 vehicles, these vehicles. Okay, so I'll explain about the push-pull rod suspension. All apart from that push-pull rod suspension, you have a brief idea about with this figure. Okay, I am explaining only a single suspension. This is push-pull rod suspension. Okay, so this is like a push-pull rod suspension system, and in this figure I'll also explain anti-roll bar and how it is work with vehicle. Okay, so first I'm just describing about push-pull rod suspension. In this like here I'm connected my arms with a vehicle. Just suppose that if I'm using like a double wishbone suspension, so I connected the two A arms here, and I connected a rod from here to here, and here I connected the rockers on. Rocker arm is something that can rotate from the axis. Okay, it is an axis point, and here the three connecting points are there. So that rocker arm is a triangular kind of an arm that can rotate from his axis. If the force is coming from any direction, it can rotate in that appropriate direction. Okay, so in that case, just suppose that like if my force is coming in that particular vehicle, if any like ditch or dump is coming in this vehicle, and my vehicle goes upward, so this allow to rotate this vehicle, this wheel is allowed to rotate this rocker arm in the anti-clockwise direction. So what will happen, while this rocker arm will move in anti-clockwise direction, this upper part of rocker arm will push this uh, uh, damper, and it is a damper to connecting with the both of the side. So when it will go upside, it will press this damper, and it is a fixed in the single position. It is a fixed with some static part. So what will happen, like my internal like dampers or spring combinations will start to compress. Okay, so my force will means generate here, and it will start and it will here and distribute all the vehicle. Okay, and it will not impact this wheel. Okay, so this is my push rod suspension. It is a push rod suspension. So it works as a pushing this damper or pushing this like a spring damper assembly. Okay, this middle part. Okay, same will be happen in the this side. Okay, while like any stone or anything, any particle is coming, any member is coming, so this wheel will go upside, and it will start to go upside, and it will start to put the force on the upper side of a rocker arm, and it will start to push this assembly. Okay, so it is a push rod suspension. Okay, and here is anti-roll bar, and how this anti-roll bar is working, just listen carefully. uh, what is the use of anti-roll bar? First, we need to understand it. Why we are using anti-roll bar in vehicle? Anti-roll bar is something like that, restrict the motion or rolling motion of a vehicle. Okay, if we just suppose that any like a big size of a stone is there, and any big size of a object is coming there, so in that case, like my vehicles will allow to move in anti-clockwise direction, because in that time this wheels will go upward, and this wheel goes downward, and there is a couple form in my vehicle in the anti-clockwise direction. So my vehicle can be uh, move in the left direction or anti-clockwise direction. My vehicle can be roll over in the anti-clockwise direction. So avoid this particular risk, we are using this anti-roll bar. So just see this how it's working anti-roll bar. If my this wheel is going upward direction, this rocker is allowed to go anti-clockwise direction. So what will happen if it is going this direction? My vehicles is going to anti-clockwise direction, this rocker will go this side, okay, left side. Okay, and it will rotate anti-clockwise direction. By this particular link will go left direction. So while this rod is going to the left direction, this particular link will move in the right direction. From this point, this is going left direction, this is going right direction. So what will happen, it will start to pushing this member, it will start to pushing this rocker arm on this point. If this particular link is start to push this rocker arm this section, so it start to rotate in the clockwise direction. So what will happen, if it is rotate in the clockwise direction, automatically the force will create in this wheel in the upward direction. So what will be happen, like uh, in the normal condition, like force will react in this wheel in the downward direction, but if I'm using an anti-roll bar, the force will react in this wheel in the upward direction. So what will happen, if the force will react in the upward direction, automatically some amount of a force automatically shift in this right side of a vehicle. So my vehicle will come again on the stability after that object will pass. Okay, it will allow to transfer the force from left side to the right side. It is the work of a anti-roll bar. I hope this clear to you. Okay, and the same kind of a geometry is a pull rod suspension. Okay, pull rod suspension is nothing all about, like if I'm just putting this assembly in the downside, and like if my vehicle is going if my this wheel is going upside, if it is start to pulling rather than pushing, it is calling a pull rod suspension. In this figure you can see that if this wheel is go upward direction, so what will happen, if my this vehicle will go upward direction, it start to squeeze this link. Okay, it is start to squeeze this link. This rocker arm will rotate in anti-clockwise direction. If it will rotate in anti-clockwise direction, it start to pull this internal spring of this particular assembly. Okay, so this is how pull rod is working. We generally prefer push rod assembly, and the reason is simple, because in the back side lots of stuff, lots of department is comprises here, because we need to put like a rack and pinion assembly, we need to put our brake pedals, we need to put all the stuffs in the lower side for electrical departments, so we can mostly team prefer or mostly like a Formula One vehicles, it prefers push rod suspensions rather than the pull rod suspension.
Rahul sir, sorry to interrupt because I have to go for the meeting. So can we start solar vehicle session if your session is going on, or you need
Yes,
much more time?
give me 10 minutes more. I'm just complete all the things.
Okay, so okay, fine. You can just take yours so that I can start the session of the solar vehicle. I need
Okay,
to wind it up at 4 because my meeting is there, right?
sure.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just coming in the braking department. Guys, I'm completing all the section in very brief manner. If you having any kind of a doubt, you can connect me after this session. Okay, this is I'm starting the braking system. Braking system is like that help to stop a vehicle or reduce the speed of a vehicle. I'm just showing this video. Okay, just watch this video and I'm explain all the things. I hope all your doubts will clear with this video. Okay, in this video we only describing about hydraulic braking system, okay, that we generally use in commercial purpose. Okay, so this is a two kind of a hydraulic vehicle, hydraulic braking system we use for the disc and drum. Okay, in the front side we generally prefer means disc, and in the back side we generally prefer drum. Okay, this is a brake pedal, and in like a commercial car we use a vacuum booster, and there is a back part is a master cylinder. Master cylinder is one of the most important part of the braking system. While you are pressing your brake pedal, it creates a force on from with the help of the vacuum booster, or it create the force inside the master cylinder. Okay, inside the master cylinder, so that okay, that pressurized fluid go from the line that connected with the wheels, that two lines with the help of this uh, connectors go in the front side and the back side caliper. Okay, in the disc we call for the like calipers, and the back side we generally known for the wheel cylinder. So how it is working inside it, this is my assembly of the disc brake. Okay, so my wheel is coming and it is my piston. Piston is something like you use in the holy. Okay, when you using are in the holy, like it is called a pichkari. When you just pressing that means like compressed fluid is coming here, and this is the piston, and same scenario in the back side, like while it is coming from the drum brake. Okay, it is a wheel cylinder, and pressurized fluid is start to creating a force on the both side of a piston, and inside it it start to touch on my wheel cylinder, that is rotating part. Okay, and it start to stop this particular moving part, and my vehicle stops. The same scenario for the disc brake. Okay, I hope this video clear doubts about your like how your brake and disc brake is working. Basically my braking system work on the friction principle. Okay, like that a caliper apply the force on my disc brake, and it create a friction, and and this frictions like my start to create a force on my disc brake, and it will stop. Okay, in the braking system we are converting our kinetic energy to frictional energy to heat energy. Okay, that heat energy we can pass in the environment. So this is like principle behind the hydraulic braking system is a Pascal law. Okay, so this is a Pascal law. Like you have seen that when you are putting the pressure in any non-compressible fluid, it like equally distributed all in the direction. It is called the Pascal law. You have seen such kind of like a systems when you are pushing from the small area from the small area particular, and if you are putting the force here, it equally distributed force in the large amount of area, and you can if you are putting the force from here, and you can uplift your vehicle or any kind of object from here. Generally lifts are using with the same principle. We are just putting some amount of a force here, and that same amount of force is distributing the equal part of this area. Okay, just suppose that here I have the 100 particles in this area, and I put it the 100 Newton force. Okay, so like 1 Newton force in a single particle distributed in each and every particles, the same 1 Newton force I'll get in the means every particles. And suppose that the area is bigger, here the area will be like 1000 particles. So I'll put only the one amount of force, and I'll get the 10 amount of force here. So the same case happening in the braking system. I am just putting a small amount of force from the brake pedal, and I'm getting a huge amount force on my wheel. Okay, these are the main parts, main components of the braking system: master cylinder, brake travel, brake line, distributor, caliper assembly, hose pipe. Okay, so these are the some calculation point behind the calculation of the braking system. Okay, that calculating for my okay, I can divide the brake pedal in the two types. This is according to that master cylinder, and according to the master cylinder, and according to the position of the pivot point. Okay, so these are the two kind of like a distribution. And pedal ratio, like one of the important point while you are calculating your the braking calculation, you need to calculate pedal ratio. So pedal ratio is something like a length from pivot point to the pedal, and length from master cylinder to the pivot point. That ratio is known as a pedal ratio. Okay, I'm just coming, this is a very important point. Like most of the peoples who are working in Baja, Supra, participating any kind of a event, Baja, Supra, SUVC, or any other events, those belong from the braking department. It is a great headache for them, like how they can do a proper bleeding, because bleeding is a high amount of a means it's a means great headache to everyone. So I'm just suggesting you, rather than going for the manual bleeding, just prefer some bleeders available in the market. Okay, these are the three kind of bleeders available in the market: reverse bleeder, pressure bleeder, or vacuum bleeder. Okay, so these are the different effectiveness. Like if you are using a vacuum bleeder, its effectiveness is a 50%, pressure bleeder is a 90%, and reverse brake bleeder is a 100% effectiveness. So like a reverse brake bleeder is a quite costly. Okay, so you can go any of them according to your budget and according to your what your necessary, your need. Okay, so these are the brake bleeder. I hope I convert. These all are about like a braking system. Last like a safety consideration. These are the some parameters to improve your vehicle systems. That are like we are designing the airbags. We are working like in every commercial vehicle. We are fitting with the airbags that improve the safety and avoid the death of the driver. Okay, so it helps to save our lives. Crumple zones are also there. While the accident, it start to squeeze, and it distract all the forces in the other direction, or it start to means break all the things, but will not transfer the force to driver. Seat belts, material selection and cockpit design. Crash test is also like Prakhar explained about the crash test in the vehicle simulation. We generally prefer for the safety consideration, driver ergonomics, and many more. I think vehicle diagnosis already covered by the Mr. Rahul Jangir sir. So